Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Diane Hayden with Costerella for another episode of How to Thrive in these changing times, what your soul wants you to do now. And every week we've been talking about everything from astrology to numerology, destiny cards, which is my favorite thing, and just, tips and things to help people get through this stressful time and, try to help us all understand a little bit about what's happening, why it's happening, and, how we can choose to look at it and what we can, whether we can see it as an opportunity and what we can do with that. So today we thought we would talk about numerology, right?
Yes.
Awesome. By the way, I love your shirt.
Who's mine?
Yes, that's snakeskin leopard.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. It's bringing in the, actually, I know we're going to be talking about numerology today, but I just think it's important to mention that today is the first day of Mercury moving into Aries, which is a huge change in the way we communicate. So maybe perhaps the way I'm dressed is part of my mode of communication, but we've been in Pisces for the last 2 months, 2.5 months during the retrograde cycle. It's been a lot longer in Pisces, and it's been a sign. Mercury and Pisces don't get along very well together. Pisces is not about direct communication. It's more about secrets and confusion and fear and spirituality perhaps, but just a lot of ambivalence and ambiguity. So now today is the first day of the warrior. So communication will be a lot more direct, a lot more, I guess maybe it could potentially be more aggressive, but it will be much clearer than it has been. So secrets will be revealed, and there will be a new direction for how we communicate. Aries likes things to the point and stated succinctly and truthfully with not a lot of confusion. So I don't know, maybe my snake or this way that I'm dressed is got something to do with that energy, because sometimes I find that I like to dress according to what's going on in the universe. So,
and that is so funny that you said secrets will be revealed. I'm gonna confirm that, because last night I was hanging out with a friend, and I've known her probably 6 or 7 years. She's actually a friend of a friend, I guess I'll put it that way. But we've become close. And last night she told us about how, this secret about how she was involved, briefly with this guy. And we were like, what? You never told us that? It was just so weird to me that it had never come up, because it seemed like something that she would have mentioned in passing.
Right.
Along the years of our friendship, and it just for whatever reason came out last night.
Last night.
Okay, wow. Where did that come
That's
from?
right. Yes. It's that. So that's a microcosm, and I'm hoping even macrocosmically in terms of the universe and government and all kinds of confusion about all these different interpretations of the virus, be they political, be they medical, be they whatever, that secrets will start to be revealed, and all of the stuff that's been hanging out underneath the surface and underneath the belly of the truth will start to reveal themselves, because Aries has no patience with emotional confusion, and Pisces likes to linger in the watery element of depths and and mystery. So it'll be interesting, and we've been in that element for over 2 months, since February. So this will be an interesting time period for all of us in terms of what comes up. So anyway,
how long will this last?
This will only last actually probably about a month. Usually Mercury stays in a sign approximately a month, but it has been in Pisces for 2 months because of the retrograde, because we went backwards there for a period of time. And so that caused, unfortunately, for the sign to kind of rule for another month, because everything slowed down. And that's when this pandemic and all of this, kind of, I don't know, secrets that hadn't been revealed. We didn't know ahead of time. Things were quiet. And then all of a sudden, they started to materialize in a way that we were all so very, I don't know, confused with and bombarded with and all of that sort of thing. So again, water signs and so Mercury is a communicator, and if you put him in water, he feels like he's drowning. You know, he has no way to really speak his truth. Mercury was the messenger of the gods. He ran messages back and forth between the gods. And that's the Greek, obviously definition of who Mercury was. He's the winged messenger. And he had no way to really communicate his messages because he was underwater, so to speak. So,
right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, totally.
Cool.
Yeah,
so let's talk about numerology.
Okay. All right. Let's do that. So where to start?
Well, I thought let me just throw out a couple of ideas that I had.
Yes.
I mean, you can give a little bit of a background, first, and then I thought,
Sure.
If we wanted to just talk about what the meaning is of each number.
Yes.
And how you figure out what your numerological number is,
Yes.
like your birthday, how you add that up, and
Mm-hmm.
and any other relations that you want to make to that. And I'm sure as you talk, I'll have questions because I always do. So
Okay. Well, stop me, please, because
Yeah.
I start, running and I need some direction. So it's great for me to hear your questions. Okay. So if we go back to the Romans and Pythagoras, who obviously was the father of mathematics as we know it, and the father of numerology in a sense, this ancient wisdom, it goes back to the Romans statement that nomen est omen, meaning the name, which is nomen in Latin, is, meaning est, omen, O-M-E-N, and we know omen as meaning destiny. So it's really the core definition of the word destiny. So the name is the destiny. And why is the name the destiny? Because the name is attached to an individual number. So every single person's name that you were born with has letters in that name, and every letter is symbolized by a number. And so I'll get into the formulas for everybody's name and how you can determine your destiny number and all the other numbers that are important a little bit later on. But I just want to say that numerology is the symbolic language of the universe. So it is the code of the universe. Each number has a spiritual essence and quality to it. So if we look at the number 1, it's just obviously a vertical line. It's a phallic line. It's a masculine energy in the sense that it denotes the I, the one, I. So just looking at it, it has that masculine energy of I. The number announces what basically is being acted out or felt. So for 1, and we're in the first sign of the zodiac, Aries is the 1. Aries is the leader. So leadership, new directions. So starting the cycle all over again. The 1 is indicative of, as I said, new direction, leadership, anything new, anything original, masculine energy, progress, individualization. It's a pillar. It's phallic. It's standing alone. So that's the number 1. Number 2, opposite of number 1 is the feminine energy, and it bows. If you look at the posturing of the 2 bows as if it's bowing in prayer to the 1. So the 2 says, You know, I'm going to cooperate with one. I'm going to share with one. I'm going to defer to the one. It's a number that's indicative of relationship. So the couple, the dyad, the partner. It's a friendlier number. It's a number of diplomacy, of union, of humility, of patience. So just a quick example, if I were to call somebody up on the phone and I was vibrating on that particular day to a 2, and we'll get into that individually, but if I was vibrating to a 2, that other person would either not answer the phone, and this has been the case for as long as I've been studying numerology, they would either not answer the phone, or if they answered, they would be unable to be present for me because they'd be distracted, or they would say, hey mom, I'm sorry, but I can't talk right now. Can I get back to you? Because the reason for the number 2 is to help us learn the art of patience and the art of cooperation. So 2 is more of an emotional, a sensitive energy. If I'm driving to a new location and I'm on a 2 energy, I'm not going to find that location as well as I would on a 1. I'm going to be more in my heart than I am in my head. My cognition is not going to be as strong. My executive functioning won't be as strong. I just will not be able to find that place because I'm in more of a, I don't know, I'm in the limbic system of my brain, so to speak. I'm not, I'm more emotive than I am cognitive, okay? Because it's a number for give and take, and it's a number for patience and for partnership. So it's not so much the 1. All right, moving on to the 3. 3s, if you look at the posture of the number 3, 3 is open to the left. Both loops are open, which means that 3s represent both the openness at the top and also at the bottom. So they're open in terms of how they express themselves and they influence others. So it's a very expressive energy. It's a very verbal energy. It has a lot of ideas. It's not so much about choosing one over the other. It's more about experiencing the energy of the number. So I tell people who might be 3 and 5 destiny numbers, they came into this world to just experience. So they're not here to commit necessarily. They're not here to close the box. They're here to just have a sense of adventure, to see what it's like. So 3s like to experiment with maybe different relationships, if it's a heart, different value systems, if it's a diamond, different ways of thinking, if it's a club, and different meanings to their life if it's a spade. So I'm including the cards in this on some level. But 3 is a number for expression, for communication, for optimism. So if you go into a party on a 3-day, wow, that's the best day you could possibly be going to a party, because you're just open to having fun and expressing and being lighter. I would think of 3 and Gemini as being good partners, because Geminis like to experience, they're open, they're lighthearted, and that's the number 3. They're great networkers. They're easy to listen to because they can express themselves well. Okay, 4. 4, unlike the 3, is closed. It's the box. So 4 limits the expression, the influence of expression. It embodies it in a box. It's about organization. It's about self-discipline, service, stability, groundedness, solidity, calmness, persistence, endurance, and roots. So 4s are insecure with the openness of the 3 on some level. 4s like to close that box. They like to feel like they're in a cocoon of groundedness, so to speak. I mean, I was just talking to one of my daughters before I came on this call, and I said, well, today I'm going to talk about numerology. And she was like, oh, I like that. I like that. And my kids, I mean, as much as they've evolved with me through the cards and, and all the ancient wisdoms, they're one, I would say their most favorite wisdom is numbers. I mean, my middle daughter will always call me and say, what day am I on today? What number am I on today? Because numbers give us that sense of solidity, of groundedness, that 4 sense of, okay, this is tangible. I'm in a body, I'm in a world, I'm on a plane, there's a ground underneath me. And 4s give us that. So if you think about a box, if you think about a table, if you think about a desk, 4 legs to it. So anyway, that's the influence of the 4. And these are all from positive perspectives. I can certainly talk about the negative, but I'm not going to go there right now.
Let's not.
5s. So 5, unlike 4, and if you notice this is almost like with yoga. You do a posture and then you rest. So the numbers are the same way. You know, there is almost like an opposite effect from, you know, moving back and forth to each number. So 5 is similar to the 3 in the sense that the 5 turns itself around, and it's open both in the front and the back, where decisions have to be made radically sometimes after the outcome. So 5s are like, they're about change. They're about restlessness. They're about, I want out of the box. I was in the box last lifetime. I was in the box yesterday when I was on a 4. Now today I'm on a 5, and I want to be a jack in the box. I want to jump out of the box. I'm you know, I'm into freedom. I'm into adventure. I'm into being, you know, a pioneer of sorts. I want to experience. I'm a maverick. I mean, my birth path is a 5 number, and I'm clearly a maverick. I mean, there's, you know, I've taken psychotherapy and kind of done this 5 thing with it. Exploration, flexibility. So 5s are like, let's adapt, let's check it out, let's experience, let's not stay where the 4 is. I need to breathe. So that's a 5. You know, rebellious, sometimes restless, out of the box. Okay, 6. If you look at the 6, my easiest way of explaining the 6 is it's pregnant. So it looks like a mother holding a baby. The curvature, obviously, of the 6, the belly. And it's about social responsibility or service. That service and that responsibility could be to the home and family, the family of origin, or the current family you're in. And 6s are very, you know, can be very maternal and very domestic around their relationship with their family. But then it also can be interpreted in terms of service to mankind. So it doesn't just have to be the small family, it can be the larger family. 6s are about balance. It's a karmic number, and it likes to have things in balance. They're about the truth. They can be conservative. They're loyal, devoted, nurturers. They love home. They're humanitarian, and they're responsible. So I have 2 daughters that are 6s, and definitely service to home and service to mankind in both cases. So the 6 is a service number, and a love of both families, family of man and family of their home. Okay, moving on to the 7. 7 is, God rested on the 7th, 52 weeks in the year, which is a 7 in numerology. 7 is the R&R card. 7 is bent over with age. If you look at the 7, it's almost like a character carrying a staff or a lantern that is trying to cast its light onto the shadow of whatever is dark. So 7 are researchers. 7s are investigators. They look into things more deeply. They're seekers, they're mystics. I mean, I'm born on the 7th. I'm a 7 of spades. They're more introspective. They go deep. Insight, but they can also be very reserved. So there can be a quiet about the 7. They can be esoteric, independent, wise, spiritual, contemplative. You know, and just in terms of the 7, you know, there's so many spiritual references to the number 7 in terms of how we live. You know, as I said before, 7 days in the week, 52 weeks in the year. God rested on the Sabbath. So 7 is a great day, or 7 energy is a great day to be focused on meditation, yoga, going within, not using the world on that day, using your own world to find the answers. 7 is a quiet day, similar to a 2. If I call somebody on a 7, the world doesn't answer because I'm supposed to be quiet. I'm supposed to be meditative. So I don't find that I get that same energy back from the world because the universe is reminding me this is a day for me to go within and not to make the call outside of me. Okay, 8, unlike the 7, is a usually powerful number in terms of manifestation on this plane. So 7 wants you to go to the spiritual plane, 8 wants you to go to the material plane. It's a balance between ideas and action. It's closed off, so its loops are not like the 3, it's closed. Indicating that power that brings ideas into fruition. So it's dynamic, it's authoritative, it's into business judgment, you know, executive judgment, supervision. So supervisors can have 8 energy to them. There's an authoritative energy. It's about efficiency, competition, wealth, executive ability, capability, recognition, courage, and self-discipline. I would say that we moved from an 8 numerical energy when we were really dealing with all that Capricorn energy at the beginning of this year, and it afforded, I don't know if I want to say afforded, but it certainly gave us this lesson of the virus on some level to, you know, to take a look at government, politics, all kinds of things on the outside. It had a thumb on our pulse. Now we've moved into Aquarius, which is more of a 9 energy and more of a social universal energy. But Capricorn is really connected with power, with money, with capitalism, with consumerism, with all of those things that our world has represented. And we're in the midst of this pause, experimenting with what do we want? Do we want to go back to that? Or do we want a new social order, which is what Aquarius would potentially bring in? So we're in the middle of that decision making. And I would say now with Mercury in Aries, we have more of an opportunity to move into what we want, as opposed to being in this confused state of Pisces where I don't know what we want, and I don't know what they're saying, and I don't know. So now it's more like, you know, Okay, I'm getting some clearer answers. So 8 is about manifestation on this plane, you know, you usually know when you're in the presence of an 8 or you're on an 8 energy yourself, you have more authority. Okay, the last and final digit on this plane is the 9. And 9 closes the cycle, returning its love and compassion to higher ideals. So it's opposite of the 6. As I said earlier, the 6 obviously is pregnant, and it's an upside down 9, or the 9 is an upside down 6, however you want to look at it. The 6 is more about the domesticity perhaps at home. The 9 is more about, let's bring that love and domesticity to mankind. Again, an Aquarian energy. So 9 is completion, 9 is universal, compassion, generosity, selflessness, honor, trust, sensitivity, a shift from material to spiritual. As I said earlier, the 8 is about money and power. The 9 is about universal spiritual energy and also about philanthropy. So if you think about the sign of Aquarius and how the signature looks in the zodiac, it's the water bearer. So bringing both pails of water to humanity. And that's what we're being tested with. Now it's interesting, and I'm just going to confuse you by saying this, that in July, and I don't remember the exact date, but in July of this year, Mars, which is now currently in Aquarius and wants universal watering energy, Mars is going to move back into Capricorn again. So it's going to retrograde in Capricorn, which means we're going to go back to this power issue. We're going to go back to this place of, what do you guys want? Do you want the money? You want the power? You want whatever it was that you were, you know, all kind of pursuing prior to this pandemic. It's going to give us, because retrogrades are opportunities to go back and to reevaluate, to reassess, to, you know, reorganize. So if you think about retrograde, the R-E that starts the word retrograde, then you can define it with re-evaluation, reassessment, reorganization. So if we're going to go back into Capricorn, it's going to ask us to take one more look at where we were and the opportunities that we've been given, the choices we've been given in the midst of this pause, other than the medical issues, to reevaluate, reorganize, and reassess what we really want. And so Capricorn's going to come back up again and say, you sure you don't want me? So, okay. Right.
Why am I not surprised?
Yeah, exactly. I know. Because,
totally.
I mean, yeah, the determination of Capricorn and, you know, old systems die hard. What do they say? I mean, tigers don't change their stripes or,
right.
You know, whatever. Right. And how many, you know, how many people are going to buy into this new order? You know,
yep.
It's so.
Yep. Exactly.
Right.
So I have a question about, you started talking about, you know, the name, and every name has a numerological a number associated
right.
with it. And also your birthday does too, though, right?
Yes.
Like I've always thought of numerology as reducing the numbers in my birthday to a single digit.
And that is like, that is the formula for the birth, you know, for your destiny number, so to speak, which is, so if everybody wanted to do this right now, you could take your date of birth, write it down. And so in Diane's case, we'll use her birth date as an example. So she's 2/8/1968. So the 2 and the 8 is a 10, which is a 1, reduced to a 1, you take the 0 off. 1968 is a 6, I believe. So 1 and 9 is 10, which is 1, and 6 is 7, and 8 is 15, yes. So you're going to add each number of the year you were born and reduce it to one digit. So in Diane's case, 1968 reduces to a 6. And then if I were to add her 2 and 8, which is a 10 or a 1, she's a 7 birth path. So you get the 2 and the 8 is 1, and you add the 1 to 1968, which is the 6. So 1 and 6 is 7. So that means that in this lifetime, her birth path number, which is a very important number in determining your numerology, is a 7. And so if you go back to the 7, the hallmarks of a 7, she's a researcher. She's focused on spirituality. She's an investigator. She can be very introspective. She's a seeker. She's about the truth. Independent, wise. So all of those are the essences, quote unquote, of her soul.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like me at all.
Yeah, right.
Let's see. I have a doctorate. There's the researcher. We're doing this. There's this like seeker, looking for the truth. I'm an only child. There's the independence.
That's right.
I'm always like, kind of wanting to do my own thing or whatever. Totally.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. Yeah. And the spade too there. Spade goes with the 7.
Right.
Right. Because you're seeking the depths of the answers.
Yep.
Right. Yep. I mean, we're working on code here. I mean, this is what we're doing. We're decoding the energy in your spirits. So numbers are a great indicator of that. Go ahead.
Right. So actually, Beverly's asking if we could just do the mathematics again. So basically, you take your entire birthday. So the month, the day, the year.
Right.
Everything as a single number. So my birthday is 2/8/1968. So you have to add up 2 plus 8 plus 1 plus 9 plus 6 plus 8. That actually, I came up with 34, but it reduces to 7. You did it a different way, but it still reduces to 7.
Right, exactly.
So if anybody still isn't understanding that, just pop a question in the chat.
Yes.
Okay, so that's one way to get a number, and then the other way you talked about earlier was by your name.
That's right. Yep. So the name number, or what I would call the destiny number. So the first number is the birth path number, the one we just did that has to do with your date of birth. That's birth path. Now the next number is called the destiny number. And the destiny number is a number that is found by adding all of the letters essentially on your birth certificate of your first name and your last name. Now, I know questions are going to come up about, well, I'm married. So then now you would use your married name. If that name is a name that you essentially vibrate to and feel aligned with, then we would use your married name currently. But your the initial way to do it, or the original way to do it, is to go by your birth certificate. So first name, not a confirmation name, not a name that you've been given afterwards. Middle name, last name, if you were given those names at birth. And then you assign a numerical value to every single letter in your name. And how you do that is, it's very simple. A equals 1, B is 2, C is 3, 4 is D, all the way up until you get to I, which is a 9. And then J is 1 again, and you start it all over again. So A to I is 1 to 9. And then J is 1 again, and then all the way up until whatever that number is, that is a 9, I can't off the top of my head.
No, right now.
But, exactly. So, and then you add all of those numbers together and you reduce them. So like in Diane's case, she had a 34, she just added 3, and 4 is 7. So you would do the same thing, whatever the sum of all those letters and numbers are, you would reduce it to one digit. And that would be considered your destiny number. And destiny number is the number that you, basically your soul came here. What's your purpose? What are you here for? What, what message is it that you want to, give to the world, or who are you essentially? And can you, and if you're finding that you're not able to identify with the number that you get, if that doesn't feel like it, then maybe you need to leave your middle name out, or maybe you want to go back to your birth name and not use your married name. But essentially, it should be a number that you feel aligned with. Okay. All right. So is everybody?
That makes sense. And it is the full, is there any meaning to like just doing that for your first name? Like if I were just to add up the numbers in Diane?
Yeah, you could add up the numbers in Diane and not use your last name, and just get a sense of how people, on a familiar level relate to you. So just as a Diane, how does Diane, come across? And let's see, so 4 and 9 is 13. 4, 5.
I think it's a 4.
1.
5, 5.
No, I think it's a 6. Wait a minute.
Oh.
So D is 4.
Yep.
I is 9, which
Yep.
is a 4.
A is 1.
A is 1, which is a 5, and 5 is N,
Yep.
which is a 10, 1, and E is 5. So you vibrate to a 6.
Okay.
Diane vibrates to a 6, which essentially is, I see that service. There's some, if you will, a biological, or not a biological, but a maternal sense to your giving. You're giving service to the world. You're in a sense, perhaps not biologically, but spiritually, you're mothering the world through your magazine, through your networking, through getting people connected. That's all mothering and domestic and service oriented energy.
Yeah, that's interesting. I would not have thought of it that way, but
Right.
when you explain it as far as what I do for my work and with the magazine, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, we have to take it and expand it. So it's not, what we're doing in our homes, those of us who have chosen to biologically multiply by having children, is really just one definition of mothering.
Right.
Yeah. And it's really, we're mothering little individuals to then be able to contribute to the big individual. So right. You're just, you're just doing the big individual, which, it's all the same, because those children are not really our children anyway. But that's
True.
another whole
That's another
day. That would not sit well with most of our egos. What do you mean they're not my children? What do you mean that I didn't create those talents that they have? What do you mean that they're not intelligent because I'm intelligent? All of that egoic kind of stuff, when in reality, they came from the other side to be whoever they came to be. And most of it has very little to do with us, to coin this saying, it's not all about you.
Right. We're just the vessel.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. So, you've chosen to be another form of that vessel.
Right.
That's all.
Yep. Yeah. But for those of you who don't know, I don't have children of my own. So that's what we're talking about. The magazines are my babies.
Yeah, and the people who read them are your baby. That's all. You're nurturing people from the infancy of perhaps what they didn't know about holistic medicine and healthcare and all that to becoming mothers and fathers of their own bodies and minds and spirits. So.
Right. And it's very interesting to me also because I don't see it as myself, because I generally don't do any of the writing. I see the magazine, I guess, like a vessel. I don't see it as something that I'm doing. I see it as a platform for all these practitioners to showcase their expertise and education and get their message out to the world. So
Right.
it's interesting just the way you look at things, right? It's like, oh, I don't do any of that. Like, it's all these practitioners that are doing all the information. Right. But I guess I had to create it in the first place.
You've given them the platform. Right. I mean, and isn't that what parents do anyway, is give their children a platform? Right. You know, I mean, to then go out into the world. I mean, they provide that, you know, I mean, they nurture them physically and emotionally to some extent, and, you know, spiritually, and then they go out into the world and do the thing that they were supposed to do anyway, you know. And so, you know, you've done that, you've performed that, you know, for people. And, you know, so I think that, you know, it's interesting how we minimize what it is that we do in reality, you know, unless you see it from another perspective. So yeah, that's huge. Okay, so let's look at, so that's the destiny number and the birth path number we just talked about. Birth path being the date of birth, destiny number being all of the letters in your name. And then your heart number is found by taking all of the vowels in your name and reducing them to one number. So that would be the hidden part of you, like almost like in astrology, your moon sign. What is it that people maybe don't see, but it's more about how you feel about things. So heart is how you feel, mind is how you think. So the destiny number, the number we just did, is more about your head. What did you come in for? What are you here for? You know, what's your purpose? But heart is, or vowel letters are about how you feel. So you would just take all the vowels and reduce them to one digit.
And again, that's your full name, right?
That's right. That's
first, middle. Yep. Did you want to say anything else about that? I just had another question.
No, go ahead. Yep.
I was just going to ask about how the numbers work in relationships. Like if you're in, you know, like a relationship with a spouse or a business partner, or like it could be anyone in your life. Like, how do those numbers work together?
Right. And there is definitely compatibility of numbers and certainly incompatibility of numbers. And I think that, you know, it's pretty complex. And I want to say that obviously when there's incompatibility, certainly off the top of my head, I would say that what's really important, and this may just be my bias, but I think what's really important is if your heart numbers are compatible. So almost like in astrology, if your moon signs are compatible, or if there's a relationship, like let's say, I don't know where Chris's moon sign is, but I know your moon is in Gemini. So if you were in relationship with somebody who had an Aquarius moon or a Libra moon, there would be compatibility there, okay, emotionally. So the same thing with the numbers. If you had a 2 heart number and your spouse had a 6, that would be compatible because they're even vibrations. So the 2 and the 6 would be compatible. You know, if you were a 4 heart number and your spouse or boyfriend was a 5, that would be incompatible. So you'd be coming from different places. But just like in the cards, just like in astrology, and just like in life, the soul has chosen incompatibility on that level to learn from that partner, to figure out how to compromise, how to use more of a 2 energy, so to speak, a sharing or a cooperative energy, to still realize that, okay, this relationship is imperfect on an emotional level, but I still love this person as a whole. So I would say even number vibrations, 2, 4, 6, 8 are compatible. And then the odd numbers are compatible, the 1, 3, 5, and 7. But if you have a number that's right next door to another number, a lot of times there can be incompatibility. Like the 4 and the 5 would be incompatible because the 4 likes the box. The 4 likes things stable and grounded, and the 5 wants to be out in the world. It wants to be restless. It wants to change it up. So that would make the 4 feel insecure, you know. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was just doing the vowels with the heart. What did you call that? Your heart number?
Yes.
So
yes.
my heart number is works out to be a 5, which that to me is the number that I relate to, I guess.
Yes.
So explain to us again what is.
All right. So let me just say, this is really interesting, because that's where numerology and astrology for you really line up, because your moon planet in astrology is Gemini, and
Yep.
Gemini and 5 are very compatible, because Gemini likes to switch it up. Yep. Gemini likes to move around. Gemini, that's all you're traveling for the magazine and, you know, experiencing different places and the love of travel. 5 wants to travel. 5 doesn't want to stay in the box. 5 is open to adventure and pioneering. So they're your 5 moon, I'm sorry, your 5 heart number and your moon Gemini are very compatible. So that's, I mean, and when you say I relate to a 5 energy, that's not I or ego, that's your soul saying, yeah, that's me. You know, that's me, I'm a 5. I don't like the box, you know, and yet your ego, the 4 of spades, is the box. So there's, you know, again, we are all a quilt, so to speak, and, you know, a mosaic. So we're pulling different threads, different colors, different textures into this quilt called me. And learning to appreciate all the differences. So my 4 of spades stabilizes my 5 heart and my Gemini desire to travel and desire to be restless and desire to look outside of the box. And maybe when I'm in this long-term committed relationship, there's part of me that wants out of it, but then there's this other part of me that says, no, I'm a 4. I like the box. I like the stability. I like the connection with this other human being who provides me with some of that. So, you know, it's all of that.
I would totally identify with that. I was going to say, in terms of the travel thing, here's how I would liken it to my 4 and my 5 and how I am as a person. So there are some travel people that all they want to do is travel. Like, they're travel bloggers. They've made a career out of travel. They literally, they're never home. They're going from place to place to place to place to place.
Right.
When I think about that, initially, I get excited about it. I'm like, oh, wow. Like, there's a woman that I know on through social media right now who just said she's planning for 2021. Hopefully, if everything allows,
right.
she's going to spend 3 months in like a different continent. So she's going to South America for 3 months, then she's going to Africa for 3 months, and then Asia for 3 months, and then Europe for 3 months. Kind of like Eat, Pray, Love, if anybody saw that movie,
yes.
where the writer went to, you know, Italy and India and Indonesia. Anyway, so I look at that, I'm like, oh my God, that's awesome. Like, I would love to do that. Like, my initial reaction is like, oh my God, that's a great idea. The experience she's going to have, blah, blah, blah. Then I start thinking about it. I'm like, wait a minute, a year? Like, do I really want to be gone for an entire year? Like, I don't, that's my 4. Like,
right.
I'm not sure that I would actually want to do it that long.
Well, so think about how you just expressed that. I thought spontaneously, my reaction was, oh my God, that's amazing. So from a spontaneous level, that's your heart speaking, because the heart is spontaneous, right? The heart just feels, Okay. But then you said, but then I started thinking about it. Okay. So there's the ego, there's the 4 of spades, there's that, kind of like, let's look at this from a practical perspective. So then comes in the rational, and the rational is trying to balance with the emotional, and trying to kind of give the 5 some perspective on, is this really what you want for that long? So then, obviously the 4 wins out.
Right. Well, also what you just made me think, though, by saying that was, maybe I should sit in that uncomfortableness, because maybe forcing myself to commit to what the heart initially says it wants,
right,
and get out of the head. What would that experience be like for me? I mean, it would be difficult. I'm sure I would struggle with it, because I know that this would get into that, like, oh, I might get lonely. I might miss my family or my friends or whatever. But what do you learn by sitting, quote unquote, in that uncomfortable space?
Right.
By forcing yourself to do something like that, where you take yourself out of.
That's right. Yes.
The everyday.
I mean, there's learning in both, right? I mean, there's learning in, so that 5 in you and that moon in Gemini and all of that, right now, it may be having a difficult time with sitting with you, I mean, as opposed to using travel to get out of that space and then learn a different type of coping or survival or whatever it is that one learns from a tremendous amount of traveling. I can't speak to that because I've not been really thought of as a traveler in my life, maybe in my mind, but not so much in my body. So, I think, that, there is that kind of balance of like, where do I want to put my learning energy? Do I want to learn from allowing my heart to be spontaneous and just go with it and see what happens when I'm in those faraway places and I'm learning about who I am in that situation? Or, or do I want to stay here and, I don't know, either regret that I haven't made that decision or feel safer within the box of my 4 and what it has to teach me. So,
right. Exactly.
Good points.
Exactly.
Yeah. Great.
So before we do before we pick the person who we'll do the little mini reading for, was there anything else about numerology that we didn't get to? Or that
I guess the very last piece I would want to say is that you would calculate your personality number by adding the consonants in your name. So personality would be how you're seen by the world from the outside. Heart is how you really are on the inside, that you may not show. But personality is the cocktail party personality, how other people see you. So you would reduce the consonant letters in your name to 1 digit. And that would give you the answer.
So that works the same way as the destiny cards, in the sense of you have a birth card, your soul path, and you have a planetary ruling card, which is your cocktail party personality.
That's right. That's right. And also in astrology, you have your sun sign, which in your case is Aquarius, but I don't know actually. I'd have to know your time of birth to determine what your rising sign is. So your rising sign or your ascendant.
I think my time of birth is 8:11 a.m. I think I just looked at this. I think it's Virgo.
Virgo. Oh, that would make sense. So that would really go with your, with your 4. Virgos and 4s love each other because 4 is like in the box and Virgo likes the box. Virgo likes to be organized and orderly and, be able to dot the I and cross the T and put closure to, a situation, make sure that things are on task and all that sort of thing. So that would make sense. I could see that if it is Virgo, so that would definitely go with that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And health. So, and that's what you're doing, a holistic health networking magazine. Health, Virgos and health are very compatible. Most amount of nurses and doctors are Cancers and Virgos, by the way. So.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Healing. healing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to pick the number 5 because that's my heart number. And
Okay.
number 5 on our list here is Beverly. So I'm going to unmute Beverly. And Beverly, you might need to unmute yourself. Can we hear you?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi, Beverly. Hi.
How are you? So what's your birthday?
March 21st, 1952.
Okay. So let's see, your birth path number is 3 and 3, which is a 6. 1 and 5 is 6 and 8. So you are a 5 birth path?
How funny is that? And the number was 5.
5. That's right. There you go. I know. Kind of always works.
Yeah.
Numerology defines the experience. So, so 5's like freedom. You know, they like independence. They like to be out of the box. They're innovative. They similar to an Aquarius. There's kind of a quirkiness to a 5. They can be mavericks of sorts. They like to do things their own way. They don't like restrictions. What else can I say? Does that sound like you? Does that feel like you?
Yeah, it does on a lot of levels.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, and what I was thinking is that's probably why I got divorced recently after 40 years, but it's like I'm free. I mean, I didn't even want it, but now that I have it, I feel free. Like I'm not worried about being alone. I mean, there's something really nice about it, not worrying about anybody else.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. And so it's almost kind of like the experience of divorce validated your energy in a sense, you know, I mean, who you are. It gave you an opportunity to feel the freedom that perhaps you weren't aware of that you really even needed until you got it.
Yes, I would say that's absolutely true.
Interesting. Yeah. Wow.
What is her card, or what are her cards?
Oh, I'm sorry. And her cards are, I thought we were doing numerology.
Well, both is nice. So that was good.
Yeah. So your cards are the 2 of diamonds and the 6 of diamonds. So the 2 of diamonds is, again, if we look at the 2 numerologically, it's a card of partnership. It's a number of cooperation. And it's in diamonds. So it's called the Wheeler Dealer card in the system of Destiny cards. It has an intuition about finances. So it's in diamonds. So it would have to do with, you know, financial partnership, you know, a sense of certainly, and the 6 of diamonds, the second card is a card of financial responsibility. So obviously April 15th is the 6 of diamonds day. So it's the day that we pay the government or the government pays us. So things get evened out financially in terms of where the energy goes. Does it go towards the government or does it go toward us? So 6 is like balance. Usually you're very good with paying your bills and very financially accountable. You have an intuition perhaps about making investments, about where to put your money or about what to do with the money that you do have, how to organize it, how to manage it. Usually very good with technology. There is an Aquarian energy to the 2 of diamonds, so they can be ahead of their time in terms of how to utilize technology for their own good. You're all diamonds, which means you're all adult energy. Don't like to be told what to do, perhaps. You're an Aries. The very beginning, first day of Aries, essentially. And again, back to that number 5, back to your independence and this recent divorce. Aries is about the individual. It's about the I. It's about the masculine energy. regardless of whether you're female or not. It's about, I am okay by myself. I think I heard you say that. I like being alone. Aries does. It's the one. It's the phallic one. So it's comfortable with, you know, setting boundaries. I think about my first child who was due on March 21st. She came on the 30th, but, you know, she always knew who she was from the very beginning. And so, you know, that sense of I am defines the Aries in you. And then the Two of Diamonds, again, is about combining the intuition of the two with the ability to financially manage your resources. So, you know, combination, the 2 and the 6, they're both even energies numerically. They combine well. The 6 of Diamonds sometimes has issues when it first comes into this lifetime about abandonment. So whether that abandonment may have happened early in your life in this lifetime or perhaps in another, sometimes there are concerns about not having received enough affection in the early part of your life or even throughout your life. And so there's issues with having to resolve that sense of maybe maternal or paternal abandonment or betrayal, and now taking care of yourself, being the one to mother and father yourself at this point in your life. So,
you hit so many things that I can't believe it. I mean, my mother just died too. So yes, I'm feeling maternally abandoned.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, thank you. But the other thing is that, and because this is so timely, this reading was meant to be, because now I have to settle the estate. Okay. And I'm having a lot of angst about it because we're in such uncertain times.
Right.
What I would have done 3 months ago is not what I would have done now. And right. Monday is my first call with one of the financial guys. And wow. I'm just feeling like I'm in uncharted territory, but you're basically telling me go with my
go
gut.
for it. Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that, you know, those feelings of insecurity are probably very, very young in you. Okay. They go back to, I don't know, the beginning. And, you know, I mean, just a sense of like, when you say I'm in uncharted territory, obviously, we are all in uncharted territory, not only with this pandemic, but every single day of our lives. We really don't know. And I think that what I'm saying is innately, you have been given the gifts to charter this course, even though it's in the midst of what appears to be uncharted waters. You're innately given the gifts of intuition and a mature, because you're an adult. Both cards are in the adult phase of the cards, so you're diamond. So you have been given the maturity of the adult to be able to swim these waters of, you know, of the unknown, and be able to use that 2 and that 6, because again, the 6 is very fair and equitable in terms of how it will, you know, determine the finances and where they need to go and how you need to do that. And so just trust the process. This first meeting will just give you the baby steps to start to be able to believe in yourself. I mean, this is an opportunity, interestingly enough, that you're divorced recently and that you're needing to do this on your own. I mean, this is your debut as a financially savvy adult who can make the right decisions for your mother, for your family, for yourself, in the way that you're supposed to, you know, so.
Very timely. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. And you know, my best to you. And I have every faith that all the planets are in the right line for you to be able to do that. A lot of Aries energy, so go for it.
Okay. I will.
Awesome. Well, it never disappoints, I swear. It's like you can't make it up. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Awesome.
It's amazing. I'm just the messenger.
Yeah.
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 I mean, the stuff's been here. We just haven't, we haven't made use of it. It's ancient wisdom, but, I mean, I think those guys had it all together and we've diluted it over the years, but hopefully we'll start to bring it back up again.
Yeah. Time to bring it back.
Time
all
to
right.
bring it
Well,
back.
Thanks everybody for being with us today. And thanks, Marianne, as always.
You're very welcome.
We recorded this. We'll have it downloaded and up on social media and emailed out to you guys within the next day or so. And as we know right now, next Saturday at 10, unless there's a baby on the way, but
he's holding on in true Aries spirit. So
right, exactly. But we'll post updates and send the email out. But right now we'll plan on next Saturday at 10.
Great.
And hope everybody has a great holiday weekend. And we'll see you next week.
Great. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.